Welcome. Maybe start by a short introduction about yourself for those of you who don't know you, and we'll take it from there.
So my name is Gafni. I actually have two hats at JP Morgan Chase. One, and the main focus, 90% of my attention, is I lead the global or globally lead market innovation. Within that, there's the investment banking innovation as well. It's a global team in Israel, but in other places, New York, etc., where we try to solve problem statements via technology. This could be business technology, tech problem statements, etc. The other mandate is, as I see in Israel, which is not very common for JP Morgan. Anything Israeli related that we can drive throughout this very big firm.
So you have a lot of work surrounding corporate innovation. It's a field I really enjoy. I think it's a phenomenal field that is only starting to go. Now, when we say corporate innovation, it's such a wide term, and everybody takes it in a different manner, especially different tiers of banks, and different end customers or end users who enjoy corporate banking and innovation. So how would you describe corporate innovation? Let's start with that.
Sure. I definitely see why sometimes the term is confusing. First, maybe some evolution. I think the term is pretty new, maybe not more than 10 years being used as corporate innovation, right? But obviously, we all understand what innovation is. It's at the core, the essence of actually humanity, I think, or even nature, to be a little bit philosophical, right? Evolution, etc., etc. But corporate innovation, many years ago, it used to be called corporate strategy. When digital and technology became much more abundant in a way of doing business, then digital strategy came to be, and corporate innovation was sort of the evolution of that. What it basically means, nothing. It means a lot of things to many different people, and they're all right? I would maybe just say that although I have the privilege of leading corporate innovation for a very big organization, one of the maybe best in its field, I would definitely not claim that my team, my organization, is the sole organization that does that. It should be a part of the essence of every employee, leader, whether it's in technology, business, operations, wherever they may be. So you can take it in many different directions. First, how do you think differently? How do you come up? I'm trying not to use the word innovation, right? Innovate or whatever. How do you come up with the new ideas? It's especially for an organization like JP Morgan, which according to most metrics, we're number one in most things that we do, whether it's Chase, the biggest American retail bank and business bank, and whether it's JP Morgan, the corporate investment bank, asset management, and the international private bank, etc. It's pretty hard when you are usually number one to disrupt yourself, right? You have much to lose. There's actually a story about JP Morgan around 10 years ago, a little bit more than that maybe, 10 years ago. We were number one in FX. And soon started e-trading. Everybody now knows what e-trading is, but back then, it was just an evolving at a beginning of something with technology as an enablement. And senior folks actually said, listen, we're number one, we don't need e-trading. After 3 years, we went down to number 10. And it took us hundreds of millions of dollars to get back to number one after several years. So lots of investment and change of mindset. So that's what you do when you're number one, and you can lose by being complacent, right? So innovation is changing mindset. It's changing, the way employees work, is ideate, but many times is changing mindset of you shouldn't build everything, right? We should look to buy. It's not the right thing, right? Shouldn't be the first focus of an organization. Listen, just few words about the size of JP Morgan. We have more than a quarter of a million employees worldwide. We have more than 52,000 IT personnel alone, right? I think this year it's going to be 54. We have a tech budget of more than $12 billion a year, right? It puts us above Microsoft, for example, which is a pure tech company. Basically, it means we can build everything, but is it the right thing for us to do? Should we really build everything from AI to blockchain to, I don't know, anything, right? Core systems, etc.
But how is an organization that size can start focusing on corporate innovation? Now, where, like in employees, in the engagement with customers, in the engagement with third parties, in suppliers, where do you focus corporate innovation in JD?
So there are many different folks doing different things. I am more of a practical, pragmatic type of person. And basically, you know what? I've been doing this crap for 4 years at JP Morgan, but in my previous life as well. Many times it doesn't really work, right? It's a nice word, a euphemism for lots of efforts, where corporate puts and and spends time and money and people to try and move the needle, but many times the focus, in my opinion, is not put in the right place. What do I mean by that? At the basis of trying to create new products, new lines of business, new whatever, it has to do with the way a corporate works in terms of budget allocation, prioritization, people allocation, projects, etc. Now, let's focus on one certain type of innovation, which is generally called as scouting or fintech, right? When you want to work with great, talented, whatever startups worldwide that can really create something for you as an organization and in a time to market, really try to move the needle. You end up, working with the senior leader of that organization, and he has budget constraints, he has people constraints. So if you come up with the most amazing startup list and knock at the door, this could solve the world hunger. Sorry, world hunger is not my priority now. This would be maybe for 2023. All right, maybe it is the priority, but sorry, I've already allocated my, 2,000 employees to work on XYZ. So there are really big problems in terms of the process, how you can actually inject innovation or external innovation in this case to a corporate in a timely manner.
Can you give us a more practical example, like a process that you do?
Well, first, that's the problem. Because of that, I built a whole new, after doing it, the first 2 years, by the way, JP Morgan has a tech center in Israel, very successful one, building many cool capabilities, features for core systems, much of it for the corporate investment bank and the market business. Now,
like an example of maybe a process that you underwent or something that maybe you sprouted in Israel, building ICCC.
Yeah. So before that, in order to tackle those problems that I mentioned, I built a framework, all right, that tries to eliminate many of these inherent problems. First, alignment to the business. So, as I said, I work in markets, right, and investment banking. Before that, I was a very general team, digital innovation for the corporate investment bank. So now I'm aligned to a specific line of business. I sit in the leadership of that specific line of business. And my peers, right, the very senior leaders that run specific businesses, let's say equities, let's say macro, let's say whatever it is, I hear their needs on a daily or let's say weekly basis, right? That's first. Second, I took a substantial budget and as I know the strategies and priorities, I tell them, listen, here's an amazing startup, or let me understand your problem statements, let us search for the amazing startup, or we can build, I have teams of engineers and management consulting people and product people. So it's a multidisciplinary type of framework. And they all join forces together to solve those problem statements. And what we do, it's not just suggest an idea, because we said there is a misalignment in time, budget, people, etc. We actually take all the processes of bringing in that technology, assessing it technically, right? Having a full-blown POC with full-blown KPIs from that business. So what eventually happens, we bring it to a decision, go, no go, but it's like almost a no-brainer decision, right? Everything is
how much time is this?
It's a very long process, of course. I mean, it depends. Sometimes you actually have solutions already in the firm. It's a very, very big firm. So many potential different teams already built something. But sometimes it can take a year until you actually have it in production working. And we as a paying customer, obviously, we also invest in companies, etc. More of a strategic investor, but so an example.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Finally. Well, there are many. Maybe for this audience, something more on the tech for business problem statement. As they said, we do a lot of tech for tech. It's a very big organization, technical organization. Cloud migration, modernization, engineering excellence. These are a few of our priorities as well, not just the tech for business ones. But maybe an example of a walk-in, again, to address this crowd, a walk-in startup. I actually don't remember who introduced them to me.
It'll be me eventually.
The place in heaven is secured. With data science and AI, right, in algo trading or modeling for markets, QR, if you are familiar with the term. This data science is prevailing. When we have 1,000 data scientists working on the greatest platforms already there. So modeling actually becomes nowadays as a commodity. All right, using the best and most modern types of data science is already a commodity. What's not a commodity is the type of data that you use. So we as a firm obviously have some access for a premium board, source, internal data, whatever, right? All of the above, but limited, right? So if you can introduce alternative data that can actually enrich your model and improve it, no matter what your target model is, right? I don't know, to increase accuracy of a trajectory of some commodity, making this up, that's awesome because it actually creates lots of dollar value. Lots means millions and millions, if not hundreds of. So with that walking, that's exactly what they do. Obviously, I won't share the name. After a POC with the QR team in securities products group, very hard actual use case. We're able to prove out that it works, and we're in contracting phase, which will end in a couple of weeks.
I know for a fact you have several companies in the pipeline that you're actively working with, and that it's always nice to hear that you're working with Israel startups. But really, for the maybe a couple of minutes we have left, and it's really important to understand how to approach JP Morgan and who should approach. What are you looking for? So help us.
Yeah, it's a great question, and unfortunately, there's no single answer because honestly, it depends really on the type of solution for the type of business, right? As I said, JP Morgan is a very big financial services firm. It does almost everything besides the insurance, I think. And when we try to move the needle, we try to move cheese, we work with people. And some people, some senior leaders are susceptible for external innovation. Some are less, some are more prone to building everything. And that's the nature of the world, obviously. People like me trying to change that, but still a very big firm. So first and foremost, identify the stakeholder, right? Many of the solutions would potentially have different stakeholders, right? A solution, for example, like the one I mentioned, could be deployed, integrated in almost all of JP Morgan's different lines of businesses with many different customers that will sign the contract, right? Not just markets and investment banking is one. We're actually working now to scale it throughout the firm with additional use cases. It could be endless. So that's first and foremost, don't give up if one person said no. More importantly, I would say, some are reluctant to work with very early stage startups. You have to identify the champion that will be willing to put the time and effort, because many times it is time and effort. You know, you're not Microsoft. Nobody, you know, it used to be IBM. I hate saying it. No CIO will be, you know, will lose his job by choosing IBM. So, but anyway, you really have to understand that a firm like us, we put a lot of effort to secure data. Data is the most important asset that we have, right? That's a trust. We said trust. Now, we will not put data in a small startup that doesn't have the proper measurements, security, cyber compliance measurements that will uphold those high standards. So many times we want to collaborate with amazing, you know, products, whatever, but as a company, they are still not ready to work with companies like us. So then we end up working with them, actually going through those phases of actually becoming an enterprise or corporate by themselves, right? There's a very big difference between a startup that is early stage and sells to small enterprises, even financial services, but second and third year banks to a first year bank. It's really different. The types of, processes and journeys that we ask startups to undergo is substantial, but then they end up becoming something that they, you know, light years ahead before they actually went on this.
So that's great, because you're not only implementing, you're actually working with them in time and trying to understand where the use case fits both your clients and users, employees, etc. And it's not something we see every day with the integration departments in other firms, in other financial institutions, regardless of use. So great. Any final note that you want to add before we wrap up?
I think we live in exciting times, really. I think first, Israel as a bedrock of innovation of amazing startups. I started saying, right, there was a tech center in Israel. The JP Morgan started around 8 years ago with amazing talented engineers. But then senior folks in the firm realized that there's the ecosystem, that there are amazing ideas. The spirit of innovation is abundant here. So decided to invest and create that innovation practice, as I mentioned before, something more ecosystem related and driving throughout the firm. And now a little bit more business driven, impact driven. One last note, you know what? As I said, I'm a very pragmatic person. And the basis of this framework, I'm actually measured upon dollar impact, which is very not usual to other innovation teams. Usually it's around POCs, sometimes investments, whatever. Dollar impact. If you can identify a team which wants to collaborate and is measured upon that, that's probably the place to go.
That's unique, the knowledge, right? Okay, thank you very much, Steve. It's been a pleasure.